Previously, we used to make all masalas at our home. We buy chilies and other spices and we manufacture. Now it is easy to use products are available, easy to eat products are available, and many innovations are taking place in the food industry. And this Ayurveda services and products also. Now Ayurveda we are offering under Sanjeevanam brand here. It's very close here, where most modern facilities are offered for taking traditional medicines, traditional treatments. So that's the changing scenario. So where when you think of introducing new products, you can mix both tradition and modern knowledge, your wisdom and facilities and devices, all those things can be clubbed. And when we talk about partnerships, in Medimix, what I would like to stress here is that all our stakeholders are our partners in progress. Whether it is market distributors or our raw material suppliers or our packaging suppliers, they are all part of our this thing, and they are all looking for long-term association. Then only we can sustain the business. Even Kerala is famous for coconuts. We all think that Kerala is #1 producing coconuts, but that's not the fact now. Kerala is only #3 position in India now, manufacturing coconuts. We don't have plantations of coconuts. So we take oil from Karnataka. Karnataka is leading now. Tamil Nadu is #2 and #3 only is Kerala. But the problem is, even now oil is available here, but our suppliers are not willing and not interested in long-term association. They only look at today's profit. Today what we get. That should not be the thinking if you want to sustain the business for a longer period. I remember in Karnataka once when I was traveling about 30 years back, I happened to meet a youngster who started a mill there and he lost the business because he tried some adulteration and all in those days. Finally, due to some money pending to banks, the company was closed and it was under the threat of revenue recovery and all. So I talked to him and convinced him that, if you look at long-term association with us, I can support you and I will help you to reopen your factory and all, and especially the mill. Now, I can very proudly say that his turnover is more than that of Medimix. That much he has grown and he is the largest supplier of oil, coconut oil to major companies in our country. Whereas I have not seen any of the coconut oil mills in Kerala has grown to that level after that. So that is the difference I'm saying. To sustain, you need long-term partnerships. And that too, strong and strategic partnerships. That will definitely help. During Corona time, I found that the difference. All our suppliers were very cooperative, very supportive, and we were able to produce and increase the production during the Corona time. Because that was the association that we built with our stakeholders. And in Ayurveda, now we are trying to integrate different medical systems. Of course, Indian system of medicine, Ayurveda, naturopathy, yoga, everything we integrated. But in addition to that, now we are also seeking the help of allopathic treatments, allopathic doctors' help, and also modern devices in diagnosing the diseases. Even recently, we opened a operation theater in our hospital where usually we do in Ayurveda small procedures like piles and fistula and all. We say Shara Sutra. It's a very age-old practice in curing these piles and fistula and all. But it is slightly painful. So to avoid that, we recently tied up with a doctor, allopathic doctor who is an anesthetist. He come and administer anesthesia, and we are able to do painless procedures in our hospital. That way we are integrated. So it's all long-term partnerships. It's a good partnership. So in future, for the benefit of the patients, for the benefit of our country, such partnerships are required, and no government or no local body, no individual, no business can flourish, sustain in the market with their own single effort. They need the support from other agencies, other people, and such partnership will definitely help. Even they mentioned that I am also a producer. I have produced about 26 feature films so far, and I'm a national award winner, Guinness World Record holder, and all many areas. But when I see the movies, the successful movies that I produce, you will notice that most of the successful movies are made with the help of a partner, so that they look into the areas where I am not able to personally give attention. And so I can select a story, I can appoint a director, I can select the artist. But during production period, I'm not able to go to the location and manage it. So the very first movie which I produced with the help of a partner is none other than Paliri Manikam Oru Padira Kolabhathinte Katha, which you know, it's a history actually. And from there, St. Mohanlal's Christian Brothers, and even the latest, most successful movie of 2024 is Sukshmadarsini, which is also, though I am the producer, I sought the help of partners to manage the business. So even today, one movie production is going on, a superstar is acting. Again, now a new partnership format I am bringing in. I am giving a suggestion to artists because the market is changing. Theatrical collection overseas. When you see overseas, like I mentioned about the products, Kerala's, a small stage like Kerala, a Malayalam film, is released in more theaters than what we release in Kerala today. Sushma Darsini was released in 150 theaters in Kerala, and the same day, about 600 theaters outside Kerala, the movie was released. That is the opportunity in front of us. So to capitalize that, we need partnerships. So what I'm giving the suggestion to artists and directors are that we can't give you the amount what you are expecting. One movie is successful, they ask for higher remuneration. But instead, you be the partner in the business, in the film production. I can give you more money when we get profits. So artists are willing, some directors are willing. Such partnerships will definitely help Malayalam film industry to again scale up in heights. And already Malayalam movies are very successful, and many other language people in Tamil Nadu and all, now I think Tamilians are watching more Malayalam movies than Tamil movies. That's in theater also when you go, 80% are actually Tamil people watching Malayalam movies. That's the advantage. So these are all the way we flourish, and this is my plan. So with these words, I conclude my talk, and I congratulate the management of Jain University for organizing this, and happy to meet the students of Jain University. I wish you all the very best. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. Anoop, for highlighting the fact that innovation need not always be about cutting-edge technology. It can about new ways of thinking. It can be about new ways of thinking and, scaling up and, most importantly, forming strategic partnerships. Thank you for highlighting that very important point. And on that note, I'd like to bring onto the podium our next speaker, whom we know as a very seasoned branding and advertising professional, but she is also an active TIE charter member, and she's been training thousands of students through TIE Young Entrepreneurs Program. So a very apt person to talk to this audience. Presenting to you, Srimati Vinodini Sukumar.
Good morning to all of you. It's great to see all young students who are going to be our future. Here is a program, here is a seminar that is going on for 5 days. Actually, it's talking about the future. And what is it actually doing? It's holding a telescope to the future, isn't it? The subject is actually, it is sustainable economies through innovation and partnership. But what it really is doing is holding a telescope to the future. And you realize that the future is not as far as it seems. Because the way things are changing, you find that everything is right here. Sustainability has become the need of the hour. Partnerships are becoming the need of the hour, just like Anoop sir was mentioning right now. But today, the change is happening at such a fast pace that the future could be tomorrow, the future could be today. I will just take a couple of examples. If you look at, 2 days back it was there in the papers, there was an announcement about a partnership between two unlikely groups. One was the Kerala Startup Mission. They partnered with the Kerala Tourism. So you wonder what Startup Mission is doing with Kerala Tourism, isn't it? The thing is, there is a sharing of knowledge, there is a sharing of resources, But in the process, what it produces is something that is more sustainable and helps to deliver more to the people today. Okay? So what did they really look at creating? The partnership focuses on startup pods, modern caravan parks, things that we haven't heard of before, but they're all new things that are going to come and value add to tourism as a whole. AI-driven kiosks, something we would have loved to have. We know today that we have everything at the tip of our fingers on a phone, and we would like to have AI just about everywhere to make our life easier and faster. And they're looking at eco-friendly sanitation systems, very much the need of the hour. And if you look at this, they have this Freedom Square. They're coming up with hospitality and tourism innovation centers where startups can be empowered. At the same time, tourism and travel experiences can be enhanced. So it is a mutually beneficial partnership, which is encouraging, which is actually going to be a global benchmark for innovation as well as sustainable tourism. So that brings us to these two crucial words that we have heard, which is part of the title of today's talk itself: innovation and sustainability. So sustainability and innovation are two aspects of a trinity. I would call it a trinity because the third thing we noticed here is the collaboration. So we live in an era where we need to move from competition to collaboration, because collaborations will bring together resources, expertise, knowledge, and a lot of more gains in order to produce something that the future needs and the future is today. That is where the story begins. Now, if you look at the key word that we are talking about today being partnerships, let us talk about the partnerships first. Collaborative partnerships. Like I was saying, we need to move from competition to collaboration. So for a sustainable future, collaboration is the key. And collaborative action needs to come from three different sources. If you can just identify the three different segments where collaborations can create more effective partnerships and deliver more to the more sustainable economies. And one is the businesses themselves, because businesses with innovation, resources, and reach, these are the three aspects that businesses can bring to the table, and it can drive sustainable actions. And it drives positive environmental and social impact. The second influencer in this category, first was business. The second one is the NGOs. What are the NGOs doing? NGOs they are like moral police, isn't it? Because they are advocates for environmental and social causes. NGOs are driving awareness, they know how to mobilize communities, and they also can hold businesses and governments accountable for the actions that they take. So NGOs become a very crucial partner in sustainable businesses and building sustainable economies. And NGOs today actually, you will notice a lot of NGOs in the fray who are delivering a lot because of their subject matter expertise, as well as their capability to raise and get communities together. So that becomes the second entity that will aid in partnerships, successful partnerships. The third one, of course, are the government agencies. As you know, the government agencies are required because they will enact the policies, the regulations, they will create the incentives, and they will also have the frameworks for environmental protection, as well as setting emission targets and things, and providing funding, that too, to support sustainable initiatives. So these are the three aspects in terms of collaboration that every business and everybody who starts something or is currently running will need to think about in order to make sure that their businesses are moving in the sustainable direction and aiding sustainable economies. Now, if you look at the other aspect here, we were talking about innovation, sustainable innovation, because that is the second peg in the trinity. The sustainable innovation, what does it actually mean? It means you are delivering products and services, you're developing new products and services that are economically, ecologically, and socially viable. And they are beneficial in these three fronts. So that is actually coming from new ideas and new products. So that is where sustainable innovation is coming from startups of today. Youngsters like you are the people, they are the drivers. Just like Anoop sir was saying, never be afraid to launch a good idea because you know that the time for that idea has come, otherwise you wouldn't have thought it up. So here is something about sustainable innovation where developing new products and services is an important aspect. The circular economy, as we always hear, it is recycling, redesigning existing products and services in order to meet the sustainable goals. That is a circular economy, isn't it? So a lot of us who have been running businesses in a certain format may need to pivot our businesses in order to make it economically and socially viable and beneficial, isn't it? So that is something that will have to be done in order with a collaboration in hand, in order to have sustainable economies. Then the third aspect is actually sharing your resources and expertise through these collaborations. How do you do that? If you look at some of the examples of sharing resources and expertise, one of the international examples for sustainability is Starbucks. Starbucks is a company that claims to be almost 90% sustainable, simply because they look at ethical sourcing. What do? They source from over 4 lakh farmers from over 30 countries, and they're making sure that the sourcing is ethical. They have tied up with international organizations like Conservation International and the World Wildlife Fund. And in the process, what they are doing is putting funds into building sustainable conservation projects and making sure that the sustainable sourcing of coffee production, making sure farmers are empowered with knowledge for sustainable practices. So there is a broad objective there, and there is a lot of funds and expertise getting shared between these two, and that is actually helping a sustainable economy. So that is something where sharing of resources and expertise is happening. The other way is to align your vision and your goals. You might find a partner who will have a similar objective of deliverables, but you want to align your vision and his in order to make those deliverables stronger. Take the example of, say, Netflix, which is providing very personalized entertainment. Netflix is giving you personalized entertainment and engagement in the visual medium. At the same time, Spotify is doing the same in the audio medium, giving personalized engagement. So these two have entered into a partnership to make sure that they can engage with each other and make their deliverables more personalized and more engaging. So that is because they both have an aligned vision. So that is another way to look at a sustainable innovation and collaboration with aligning your visions with each other. Then comes adapting to the changes of your partner, adapting to the changing needs of your partner, the market, etc. Examples will be like Apple and IBM. You will notice that Apple keeps coming up with something or the other every time. Why is that happening? It is simply because they know that technology is changing, the market is changing, the user and the consumer is changing. So they have with them a partner like IBM who continuously is holding hands with them and delivering products and services that are the need of the market and the changing consumer. At the drop of a hat, they are changing things. So there is another one where you are doing a partnership and innovation only through adapting to changing needs in the market as well as a consumer. So sustainable innovations in business, there are other easy things that we can easily relate to, like Tesla that came out with electric vehicles. Those are innovations. So we are talking innovation here, that's an innovation. So they had to associate with electric battery manufacturers, and that became a collaboration. And here you have an entity that is sustainable because it is lesser polluting, and it is also going to be lesser noise producing. There are so many other advantages that this particular innovation is going to deliver. And over and above that, they claim that they use lesser water in their production, and they process 80% of the waste generated. They recycle 80% of the waste generated in the manufacturing process too. Then comes, if you think of another name that we all are familiar with, IKEA. IKEA is another sustainable example, an example of sustainability, simply because they actually, they have 55% of the wood they use is renewable, and it is certified wood that they use. And another thing that they use is that 18% of the material that they use is recycled material. So if you look at the kind of commitment they have, there are so many other areas that IKEA has tied up with various forums in order to deliver more sustainability to the world, from every aspect of the consumer to society to their production processes. This is about innovation that we have seen. So this is how now startups, if you look at innovation, the word innovation today is actually linked to startups, and that is where we come, the subject comes to today. Because there are a lot of students here, and the track today is about entrepreneurship. I would like to touch upon that. Here, if you look at startups and innovation, take India. In India, we have over 90,000 startups, and over 107 of them are unicorns. Am I right? So, yes, and they have over, I mean, unicorns who have over $1 billion US as their, value. So what are these startups doing? Of most of these startups, you will find that a lot of these startups are climate startups. Look at how they're thinking. Most of these startups are climate startups. That is where you're seeing the future, isn't it? So it is exactly what I was saying about the climate change and the issues that are happening in climate change, and things that we should act now. If we don't do it now, we never will, and we will be leading to disaster. And look at how startups have started thinking about the future now and set up big businesses that have turned into unicorns. So climate startups, they are working across all sectors, including agriculture, energy, and transportation, and bringing to the fore all the aspects that are required to make sure that those businesses are sustainable. Then, through public and private cooperation on utilities and services, tech startups are doing a lot. Tech startups today are driving the startup ecosystem as a whole. And that is going to become very easy for students like you, because you can always think up a problem and come up with a technology in order to solve this. And that is the need of the hour, and you need to look at it that way. So startups is an ecosystem that is really growing very fast, and we need the sustainability aspect to be taken care of by startups. And what is the advantage? Companies, established companies, say even like Medimix, may want to associate with young startups who come up with the AI and technology that will be able and enable them to take their sustainability to the next level, because that is a need of the future and that of the new generation. So today, 90% of the corporates in India are actually following sustainability practices, and they put it on top of their list. And that, I think, is creating a global benchmark, and we are seen in the world as one of those countries where corporates, a lot of corporates, 90% actually, are very sensitized towards sustainability practices, which is a great thing. Now, when you talk about startups, there is another group that is really growing in terms of sustainability, and that is women entrepreneurs. If you look at women entrepreneurships, it's growing across India. And women entrepreneurs, even in Kerala, there are so many forums, including the Women Entrepreneur Network. We have over 1,500 registered businesses that are running here, and silently creating a revolution and making sure that sustainability, collaborations, and partnerships are bringing and adding value to products and services that are available in society, as well as empowering a community and making sure that there is a lot of community engagement and involvement. So you will find that the government is also taking note of this, and across the country, there are so many women startups that are all thinking sustainability. And across the world, Indian startups run by women are really getting noticed. And that is also something that all the girls in this audience should keep in mind, because an idea comes from your customer or the people around you. The need arises from what you see in your audience, from the people around you. And which is why there are a whole lot of zillions of ideas that are waiting there to be cracked and to be converted into sustainable businesses. And it is all in your young hands and in your young minds to think up something and make sure that you look at a future that is sustainable, and you build economies, and also make sure that the future is in good hands. We also would like to believe that it is in the safe hands of the youth. So women have a noteworthy role to play in sustainable economies. And most often you will notice that women entrepreneurs, they prioritize social and environmental goals alongside their business goals. Most of the businesses you will find that there is that aspect, including making sure that their HR is making their employees comfortable, and they are better at HR skills. That's why you will find a lot of women in the HR departments of large corporates, as well as capability to run a business goes up because of purely your HR skills. That adds to your business skills. Women-led businesses, they are known for supporting local communities very well and fostering positive change among local communities, which also is a reason why women initiatives and women empowerment initiatives are really coming up. And the governments, both local, which is the Kerala government, as well as the Indian government, is focusing a lot on this group as well. So in health tech, in fintech, in clean tech, these are all areas where women startups are really taking the lead. And these are the areas where all of you should also be thinking up new ideas in order to help the growth. And if you look at the typical funding that has gone into women startups last year alone, over $930 million has been given for women startup funding, and which is actually a year-on-year growth of 93%. Which is an amazing growth, which shows how fast the women entrepreneurship network and support systems are growing, and the opportunities there are lying open for everybody. So what do really businesses need to do to support sustainability? You need to partner with businesses to reduce carbon footprint. You need to work with suppliers who will reduce wastage. You need to collaborate with local organizations and startups to support environmental initiatives. India had a culture of recycle, reuse, and reduce. This was always a culture that was followed by our ancestors. If you look at a simple example, there was a time, and which not far back, which is also practiced now, which is a very Indian phenomenon where if you have a shirt that you are wearing to work, after 6 months, it becomes a shirt you are wearing at home over the weekend. After some time, it becomes a washcloth. And you will make sure that it is recycled and it is getting used. And you will make sure that the wastage, the usage of the product is more. It also reduces your consumption to a certain extent. And you're making sure that you're value adding with every stage of the recycling and the reuse of the product. This is part of our Indian culture, which now the world is going back to and employing. So it comes easy to us Indians. It is something that we can all keep in mind. It brings to mind a line, to quote the words of Barack Obama, who once said that we are the first generation to feel the negative impact, the impact of climate change. We are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change, but we are the last generation who will be able to do something about it. Because from here on, there is only the way down. And if we do not apply our brakes, and if we do not think sustainability, we do not have a future that is secure for all of you youngsters who will be growing into that future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Vinodini, for bringing together the ideas of the concepts of startups and sustainability so beautifully together, and also for putting the spotlight on women-led startup. Yes, we will have time for questions later, after all our plenary speakers are done speaking. It's my pleasure to bring to the podium our next plenary speaker, Dr. Nalanda Jayadev, who, as I mentioned earlier, has received formal training in medicine, law, and management. We are keen to listen to what the perspectives you bring.
A very good morning to all the entrepreneurs, present and future. I don't know who coined this term, health is wealth. But that seems to be the topic for today. How to build economy through innovation and partnership. And I would be speaking from the healthcare perspective. In the global context, if you look at health in the global context, what Madam said is true. We were referring to an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, Vinodini ma'am told which apple will keep the doctor away now. So it's technology. Technology is going to keep people like me away from you so that you can concentrate on making wealth. In the Indian context, recently our entrepreneur Nikhil Kamath. How many of you know him? Nikhil Kamath. How many of you have heard of the company Zerodha? Yes, he was the founder. So, he famously remarked that most Indians are one hospitalization away from financial bankruptcy. That is the situation in India now. So, if you want to remain wealthy, you should remain healthy. And how do we do that? It is not only India's challenge, it is the world's priority now. So much so that the United Nations has listed health as the top priority. It's one of the top 3 goals or the sustainable development goals for the year 2030. Health is right up there. They call it good health and well-being for everyone. Now, how do we achieve these goals? Most important thing is we should be able to address the social inequity. That is the first step. Indian healthcare is a paradox. I'll come to that later. But you must understand that we have less than 1 ICU bed for 1,000 people, less than 2 hospital beds for 1,000 population, less than 3 doctors and less than 4 nurses for every 1,000 population. Many people are unable to access quality health care. Unless we channelize innovation through the right partnerships, we may not be able to address this inequity. Of course, we need to leverage technology to scale it up, and as Vinodini ma'am said, we should be conscious of the fact that the carbon footprint doesn't overshoot. I would like to reiterate what Anoop sir mentioned, the importance of partnerships. So, let us examine what are the different partnerships in healthcare and how it has evolved over a period of time. In the ancient times, when the patient, of course, the patient is the most important partner. At Aster Medcity, we always say, take charge of your health, because you are the most important person who can determine your health. So please take charge of your health. In ancient times also, the patient was left to himself. He used to depend on these mystics who, claim to have this supernatural powers to heal. Okay. Now, if a COVID pandemic had struck a few thousand years ago, most of the people would have died, and they would have blamed their misfortune for that. Had some survived, they would have appreciated their healer, the magician. Okay, that was the situation. Innovation was very snail-paced, it didn't take off. Until about the time of Hippocrates, our Sushruta and others who were the early innovators as far as healthcare is concerned. They come out with protocols, with treatments, for some of the illnesses and conditions. That time it was, heavily depended on the skill of the practitioner. Okay, the medicine was more an art than the science. There was a science to it, but it was largely an art. It was heavily dependent on the doctor. If you go to a good doctor, you're lucky. Otherwise, you will suffer. Likewise, if the doctor used to determine the dose, right? So, whether a given drug is a medicine or a poison is determined by the dose. So, if you go to the good doctor, you get a good, right dose and you survive. Otherwise, you can end up in the deathbed. So, that was a partnership then. Again, innovation was progressing slowly. It was in the 18th century when the modern healthcare, the innovation really fast-tracked, shifted gears, and when wonders were created, right from our anesthesia, antibiotics, vaccines, blood transfusion, X-rays, each of these technologies has touched mankind and transformed the way we live and way we create health. Okay. Now we are in a situation where healthcare can sustain and support every major organ function. Starting from the limb, you have got artificial limbs. You have got ventilators which can sustain lung function artificially. You have dialysis to sustain kidney function. You have, organ transplants happening. Okay, if your liver is gone for a toss, you can replace your liver. So medical science has done wonders to human life. The only organ which is elusive is, anybody? Anybody? We can literally control every organ now except, anybody? Go for it. Fantastic. Brain. We have not reached a stage where we can replace human brain. Even in that, I would say most of the functions can be replaced except emotion. Now you have got artificial intelligence coming. So artificial intelligence is one way of technology controlling the human life. Memory, language, analytics, everything, logics, reasoning, everything can be now done artificially except emotions. Don't tell me that emojis are there, but that is not the real emoji. So that is where the difference between an Alexa or a Siri and a sister you call, the difference is the compassion, the emotion, the empathy they bring in healthcare. So we should be mindful of that. When we look at innovation and we look at partnerships, the emotional component is also very important. Now today we are in a position to move from curative to predictive care. That is the model we are looking at today. You don't want to suffer the illness. Okay. One of my IIM professors asked me, Doc, why should you not consider paying the doctors to keep me healthy than treating my illness? I would pay more to the doctor. That is now possible. We've got newer technologies where we can, sort of read the code which has been written for your life, for your body. It's called as new generation gene sequencing. This is already here. It's a reality. It is in the space of cancer treatment. It has come into communicable disease space, but it is not entered the space of chronic health conditions like heart disease, kidney disease, the risk you have for drug allergy. So this is the space where we are looking at. You need to explore how new generation gene sequencing can predict what is your risk of contracting a certain illness and preventing that. All these are very expensive as of today. Hopefully in future, when it becomes cost effective, people would go for it. Okay. Now that is where you see a lot of the cancer tests are very expensive because that is in this space. There are, I can give an example. Last week I met a CEO. He said his father, who also was a CEO, had 10 years back visited Mayo Clinic and he was diagnosed with pollen allergy. He had a chronic cough for a long time. Had to go to Mayo Clinic and a diagnosis of pollen allergy was made. Because it's Mayo Clinic and it's US, he could follow up only after 10 years. And after 10 years he went, they did this gene test and told, you have protein C deficiency. Had this happened 10 years back, he would have avoided all the cough and he had taken a premature retirement. Imagine a CEO taking retirement 10 years early. So that is wealth for you, and that is where health can contribute. So these things are already there. So that is where you can think of, partnering or starting your newer ventures. Then we are also looking at gene editing. It's not enough if you just predict. You need to prevent. By editing the genes, you can prevent the illness itself from occurring. Now we are in a situation to edit bacteriophages. These are viruses. We edit their genes so they get into the body and attack the bacteria. It's virus versus bacteria now. Interesting, isn't it? So all these are there now. It is evolving very fast. As I speak before you, probably guys like Kailash would have come out with something else. He will speak to you more about the brain function and how artificial intelligence has really changed things. And during our COVID pandemic, you see, I was referring to the paradox of Indian healthcare. The COVID pandemics exposed a lot of things. First thing is, the people wanted to, for the first time, keep the doctor physically away, physically away. In the sense, they wanted the doctor's help, but they cannot go because of social distancing and the chance of contracting COVID. So what came out of it is home care, telemedicine. So these are all new things which has evolved. This has actually brought down cost, if you look at it. So that is the beauty of innovation and partnerships. The other paradox is India is one of the exports, or sorry, provides or supplies one of the finest healthcare professionals to the world. Most of the doctors and nurses we send to the globe. But the paradox is, in India we are facing acute shortage of trained healthcare professionals. I find it really challenging to find a good nurse today. So that is the paradox. And how do we overcome this? We need to get in technology. We need humanoids, we need Alexas, we need Siris who can, we need humanoids who can, take that care, limit the number of people who are involved in the care, but still retain that personalization. So this is what we are looking at. Lastly, as I said, now medicine is an art, medicine is a science, and now medicine is a business also. These are not my words.
It's a fact.
Fact, in 1996, Supreme Court brought healthcare under the ambit of Consumer Protection Act. So there's a whole lot of things opened up after that. That is where you can see the partnerships is now involves more than a dozen people. It's not just the doctor-patient or doctor-patient hospital. You have got a whole lot of people entering this partnership. There are these pharma companies, insurance companies, IT companies, fintech companies are giving solution, right? So this is just exploded, I can say. And the challenge for our country is how to make it more affordable and accessible. The only answer is universal health coverage. I don't know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, but it should happen. If that happens, take it from me, India will be able to retain the economic prosperity that we are achieving, and also we will encash the demographic dividend that we have now. Going forward, India will not remain young. The fertility rates are dropping. 1950, each woman was giving rise to 8 children. In 2024, we are giving rise to less than 2 children. So we are not even replacing. That whole concept of population explosion, that narrative has changed. It has suddenly become a demographic dividend, which we will lose out by 2050. In 2050, most of you will be old. Like Japan, we would have to look at other countries for caregivers, right? So if that has to change, you guys have to think, look at how to bring in technology, postpone the old age. That is possible. It might be possible. I'm not asking you to look at immortality, not immorality, very sorry. Immortality. We could be close to that, but now let us look at extending or postponing the old age.
Longevity.
Yeah. I think more people are going to live after retirement. That is what is going to happen, and if that happens, the existing healthcare infrastructure is not sufficient. It won't be sufficient. We need to find out technology to scale it up and ensure nobody is deprived of the care. On that note, I request you all to take charge of your health. With due respect to my next speaker and with the permission of Lata Madam, I am request to take leave now. I've got an emergency to attend. If I may take leave, Madam. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Nalanda, Jayadev, as he mentioned, he'd like to leave for another meeting. We'd like to present a token of appreciation before he leaves, and I invite Professor Jayalata, our Pro-Vice Chancellor, to come on stage and do the honors. Dr. Nalanda Jayadev is someone who has leveraged innovation and partnerships in remodeling healthcare delivery in this VUCA world. So listening to his perspectives was indeed, I think the backstage team might not be really prepared with the memento because it was not expected at this moment. Can we have a volunteer please reach out to them? Dr. Nalanda Jayadev, we request your patience for a moment. So yeah, as somebody who has leveraged innovation, his perspectives were really valuable to listen to. We also request all our speakers to step up and let's have that group photograph taken before Dr. Jayadev leaves. Dr. Jayadev ended with a poignant point. Kerala is predicted to be a community of old people very soon. So the aspect that he pointed out is extremely relevant to us as a community. Hope we scale up with innovation. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jayadev.